Hello, people of the internet, or rather my backers, who are interested in making a game together. What I'm planning on doing is using screencasts in order to have a video development series or like a video blog so that I can work with you guys without having to type so much, and so that you can feel like I'm giving you some real, in-person feedback. So just to clarify, the point of these videos are going to be to help develop this game together. And so what I'm going to try and give you guys is an understanding of what I'm going to be going through for this development process. And what I expect from you guys is to give me feedback on whether or not it's working or what you would like to see differently. So for anything in this video or any future videos, please just feel free to leave a comment below. I'll read them all and I'll take them all into consideration. And keep in mind that if you don't think this video format is the right format or the way to do this, just let me know as well, and I'll try and consider some different options. So today I want to do two things. I want to first break down the results of the survey for the interest of this extra game, and then also talk about some routes that I want to take in developing this game, specifically two of them, and how I'm going to proceed forward with this. So right now I have over 20 people who are actually interested in helping out with this game. Only 13 have responded to the survey, but feel free to continue to send your responses. I will look at them as we go along. But let's just break down some things here real quick. So more for the boring things, the materials first, is what card components would be most preferred. It looks like it's pretty evenly split between anywhere from 1 to 4 card components, which means I feel fairly confident in allowing for at least 1, if not 2 card decks. But I'll try and keep that number low, as I recognize most of you just don't have poker decks cards just laying around your house everywhere. What dice components we most preferred? Although there are some of you who are, those big-time nerds out there playing D&D with your D20s and D10s and all that, looks like the majority really wants to stick to 6-sided dice. But what's good to know is no one said just 1 6-sided dice. That's all I have as my Monopoly game. Looks like everybody's got at least 4 6-sided dice that they can use. So that's promising. We can have more interesting things happening with that. The last one is, how do we feel about print and play? And the majority of you say, like, if there's print and play components, great. But there's still a few who don't want it, and so I'll try and keep the print and play aspect of it to as minimum of what's actually needed. Keep in mind that what I mean by this question, and I know a few of you got this misunderstood, is I'm not actually going to develop an entire full-fledged game here with you guys. Something like that takes hundreds of hours to do, and that's going to be basically card rope, which you're going to get from me anyway, right? And there's no way I could even get that to you guys, since you only paid me $1 or $2 to get the game, and shipping costs like 10. So continuing forward with like really the actual interesting things, let's talk about the gameplay breakdown. So number one place is people want dungeon crawlers or adventure games. That seems to be the overwhelming majority. The next one is storytelling or role-playing, as well as war games. And I think the storytelling or role-playing, the fact that that one's really high and dungeon crawling is really high, makes me believe that they really can be combined into one, and that they should be. That it shouldn't just be a mindless dungeon crawler, that there should be aspect of story and character to it. And so I can kind of see as that's combined into one, and that's why I say storytelling is part of second place. War game, I think a lot of you have been saying that because of the comments on the forum for a game like Stratego, which is cool, and that's in the plans. Abstract game also came in third place, which, because I'm going to try and avoid print and play as much as possible, there's going to be levels of abstraction, just because we're dealing with a 52 card deck. You have to abstract away. And so I feel like by splitting it up and working on developing 2 different games, one more of a war game and one more of a dungeon crawler, and then from there deciding which way to go based on which one's more interesting is a good way to start. If you guys think differently, leave a comment below. So let's look at the game mechanics as well, and I think these really supplement the different game types. At first place, we have high strategy, and near last place, we have high luck. And so what that really tells me, guys, is that you're grown up. You're not 5-year-old kids who just want high luck so that they can beat their dads. That's good to know. But I think it also tells me that you're okay with more complex rules and possibly even larger rule books, which is good because it gives me more flexibility with the games. If that's not true, comments below. The second and third place, the tie for second place is resource management and cooperative play or team play, which cooperative play or team play, yeah, totally can do something like that, and I think that can fit into any type of game, so definitely keep that in consideration. Resource management, be very interesting to see how that would work out with a dungeon crawler. That probably deal more with like making sure you have items or abilities and you have to complement them well. With a war game, though, this is obviously a part of it, an aspect of it that's just innate in there, so we'll deal with that. I also have a lot of people up for deck building, but I think I'm going to avoid this for now. I've already tried to make a game like that, and it gets really confusing with a standard deck of cards because they all have to translate down to a specific attack, defense, or special abilities, and it gets really confusing. There's ways to get around it, but I've got 2 other large interest games, so I think I'm going to stick with there. So, but at the very least, what we know is no one wants a matching game, and only one person wants a voter and player elimination game. So I feel pretty confident that we're fine with that. There was other with both the type of game and with the game mechanics, and let me just go over a few of those real quick, just because I wanted to make sure to highlight anything that I possibly missed. So one person mentioned that they wanted something that was video game inspired, which is cool. I don't know who that is because all your data is anonymous in these surveys, so if you want to elaborate more on what video game that is and what your idea was for that, I'm open to hear about it. But video game conversion into card game or board game is sometimes very difficult, and you also have a more niche audience now, because now not only do they have to enjoy the card or board game, they also have to enjoy the video game. So, but we could talk about it. Someone else mentioned the idea of having a mystery game, and although I really agree with that, I'm not actually that big into mystery myself, and so I'm not sure how I would develop that on my own. I don't think I can, make an intense situation for you, or even a fun game for that matter. But if you're familiar with this field, again, just get in contact with me, and I'm willing to talk with you one-on-one about what the possibilities are for this. Dice rolling and dice building games, I think they're awesome, and I may see how to incorporate this into either the war game or the dungeon crawler, because absolutely, those are really cool things, and I think I learned a lot about that with Dice War. Character cards that have their inherent pros and cons, and I think this will just be a default for the dungeon crawler. Mainly because my idea for the dungeon crawler has been kind of taken from what Knight 1505 said on the forum about Dungeon Buster. And I don't want to copy Dungeon Busters. I don't really like doing that. I don't like just taking a game and converting it into something else so you can have a free version of it. But I have thought a lot about that post and about Dungeon Buster since then, and I actually have a pretty darn good idea of something we can do, and I have it somewhat fleshed out. And so I'm going to present that to you guys within the next few weeks as part of what the Dungeon Crawler is, and it involves character sheets, so we should be good there. Let's just go through the other feedback as well. Yay games, that's really important feedback. Thank you for leaving that. One person was really concerned about randomness and making sure that if we have randomness, there's ways that it's not going to entirely affect the game. And I think that's just going to be something that's required when I'm making these games, because no one wanted high luck. And so any form of randomness I'm going to try and deter by correct use of strategy should negate a lot of that randomness from it, or at least the randomness won't have as bad as a negative side effects, or as good of a side effects if you're not strategizing correctly. One person was a little bit confused about what I meant by print and play, but I've already clarified that, so I'll just leave it at there. But just, yeah, kind of in a conclusion, guys, what you really should expect in the next coming weeks is I'm going to have at least two separate blogs, one for each game, where I'm going to start breaking down the ideas of what I want for that game, and I totally expect feedback from you guys. Keep in mind that it may seem that I've gone really far in developing these games, but that tends to be the case when you're developing a game that doesn't require any design of components, or very bare minimal. Once you start getting the basic concept in, the rest of the rules just kind of flow. For example, I literally created 90% of the rules of Crossfire within 20 minutes while my roommate was in the shower, and then he came out and played it with me, and it blew his mind. But that's just because once the inspiration is there, it just goes. So don't expect that we're going to have this huge iterative process of trying to develop a game. We may go back and forth on ideas, but I'm probably going to introduce full-fledged games to you guys when I do these blogs, or game ideas that aren't full-fledged and thought out at all, and I'm just trying to figure out how to go forward. There really won't be any in-between. So enough rambling. You guys got your dev blog for the day, and I'm just going to repeat it one last time. Leave any comments below because I'm really interested in your guys' feedback for this. I've never done something like this before. It's crazy. So I really want to know how you're responding to it. So, but that's it. Take care and play more games and have a great, fantastic time playing the games you already have.